Welcome to Touched and Empowered, a show created to empower individuals to value their lives by hosting think tank discussions that will inspire positive action. Touched and Empowered with Katie and Ace starts now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I thought today was a crucial episode, especially since I went home to see one of my nieces. She is 12 years old, and she told me she wanted to become a psychologist. And you know, when you're 12, that's not the first thing I think of when I want to have a career in my life.
Yeah, I don't think that was mine.
Right? I was like, I don't know about that one. But I asked her, why do you want to be a psychologist? There's so many other things you could be at at least when you're 12.
Right? You could be anything.
Right? And she was like, a lot of my friends apparently were all supposedly, like this is how she was saying it, diagnosed with something. And not only that, a lot of people kind of want to die in middle school. And she was explaining this to me. And I was like, oh my God, what did we do? When I think about that, so many things come to mind. There's actually a really good article in The Living Buddhism. I know I'm Buddhist, so but I can refer to this about social media and what it did to our youth, especially in elementary schools and middle schools. And that's something we can reference. We'll put the article in the comments.
Okay.
Another thing is, here with the Teen Suicide Prevention Society, there is a talk that saves lives. And Katie is an incredible person to teach me how to do this. So could you please show me how to give the talk that saves lives?
Well, I can't show you, but we can demonstrate it. And okay. I think that's probably the most important thing. Cool. Because it would be a little wonky to kind of share the script on the screen and everything like that. But the script is available for free on the Teen Suicide Prevention Society website. So you can download it. Actually, you get a bonus right now because we have the script and you also have the Why Not workbook that we're giving them together as a bundle for free right now.
Great. We'll have a link for that as well.
So yes, the link will be in the chat for that. But the script is pretty much designed as a way to have a conversation. And it's written to where, well, I'm not going to try and explain it. I'm just going to do it. So I'm going to walk you through the introduction.
Okay.
Ace, I have joined the mission to stop teen suicide. I have a script that I need to practice like 5 times. It takes about maybe 10 minutes to go through the script. Do you have 10 minutes tomorrow to help me practice my script?
Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Side note, the reason that we ask for a future date and time is so 1, you're not catching anyone completely off guard with the topic of suicide. And 2, because it's a planned conversation, it is not stressful because you kind of know what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll now pretend it's the next day. Ace, thank you again for helping me practice my script. I have just 4 questions. The first 3 questions, you can only answer yes or no. The 4th question, you can tell me as much as you want. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Question number 1. Have you heard about the rise in teen suicide?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Question number 2. Do you have a friend who has tried or died?
I've had many.
Thank you. Question number 3. Have you thought of leaving that way?
Between the ages of 8 and 19, I did.
Thank you. Question number 4. Why stay? What are your reasons for staying?
Now that's a loaded question. You ready for that one?
I'm ready. I want to hear it.
All right. So my first attempt was when I was 8 years old. And when we were, someone in my class told me, you could pass away quietly by breathing incorrectly. Right? So I gave that a try. And yeah, there was a part where I actually did crossover. And from what I remember, there are no emotions in that space. There's no feelings, there's no love, there's just you. And then when I came back, I stayed because I realized there's so much love that you could have in this world. And that whoever was treating you in a way that's harmful or painful, they're doing it because they're unhappy. If they were happy, things would be a better place. So I work towards helping everyone around me be happy.
So what's so good in your life now that you want more of it?
It's going to sound really weird. You know, I used to hate, I actually don't like that word anymore, but I used to really fear being supported by others because I wasn't used to it.
Tell me more.
Yeah. Like, you know, there are times when I go through rough times. There are times when I go through great times. There are times where I get anxious because I don't know how to feel. And a sense of community with the right people, you know, they truly, that feeling of being happy with others, I want more of that in my life.
What else?
Adventure, excitement, range of emotions, even like Pixar movies. Love Pixar movies.
Yes.
It's been such an interesting track of my life from when I used to just not want to try to now I want to see more. I want to explore more. I want to challenge my life. I want to sculpt who I am. I want to be around people that feel the same way. And I want to give back to my family, give back to the people that have trained me. And I want to be able to pass down any wisdom that I've had to people that are either younger or trying to learn more about how to enjoy their lives in a way that I probably did, right? Those are those feelings of fulfillment that I've been looking for and keep moving towards. Anything that I used to do that doesn't bring me that type of feeling, I don't entertain anymore.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing. I really appreciate you taking the time to help me practice. And because of you, we're saving more lives.
Thank you.
Now, the neuroscience that I'm going to geek out on now that we're done practicing the script is that the reason that we ask the first 3 questions and we say just answer with yes or no. Have you heard about the rise in teen suicide? Do you know somebody who has tried or died? Have you thought of leaving that way? Is because we're purposely putting the brain in a state of being uncomfortable. So then when we ask the question, what are your reasons for staying? It's like flipping a switch. Your brain is instantly going into all of the great things in your life. And so you start compiling this pile of evidence. And it doesn't matter what evidence that you give for your reasons for staying, your subconscious is going to remember that information. So when you do, or if you get to a state to where you're thinking of leaving, your subconscious will remind you of these pieces of evidence as to why you have a purpose for staying. And just to share my story with this, when we first created the script for the Teen Suicide Prevention Society, I was the guinea pig. I was in your position. I was the one answering the questions. And when it got to the question, what are your reasons for staying? My first response was, because I haven't seen a unicorn yet. I came up with so many off the wall random, because I haven't driven a Ferrari, because I want to ride a purple elephant. I mean, I was coming up with complete bullshit answers because, I was just trying to get through the process so we could get the script ready and get it out to the world.
Right.
Well, this was 3 years ago. What I didn't realize is even all of those BS answers, my subconscious was remembering them. And I will admit that there was a time when I got to a really deep, dark place and I thought it was better for me to leave. So then the life insurance policy could take care of my son.
Mm.
And I'll be damned if my subconscious said, nope, you can't go. You haven't seen a unicorn yet. You haven't seen a purple elephant. You haven't driven that Ferrari. Like, son of a bitch, it worked. And I was lying. Well, I still want to see a unicorn and a purple elephant, but still, the fact that my subconscious remembered, and I can laugh about it, even with the tears.
Yeah.
The beauty of doing this script is the power of mirror neurons.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I practice this script with somebody new and I hear their reasons for staying, my subconscious goes, oh, that's a good one. I'm going to save that. Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to save that one. And it's just building up my evidence for reasons that I need to stay. And the beauty of it is you don't even have to be part of the practice conversation. We just helped suicide proof our entire audience because they listened to the conversation.
I see. Wow.
And I help teach this to teens, to youth leaders. In fact, I just got an update recently for a youth leader that I've been doing work with for well over a year now in Kenya. And he has reported back of the hundreds of teens who have decided to stay because he has used this script. Now, granted, that's just in Kenya. That's not here in the US.
Yeah.
We have advocates for living. These are people who are trained and certified to present not only this talk, but the talk to stop bullying, the talk to stop negative thinking, and the talk to stop self-sabotage. Mm-hmm. Yes, this was created by my mom, myself, and my sisters. And the certification process is, oh my God, I think it's only $250. But 100% of those funds go right back into the Teen Suicide Prevention Society. It helps create scholarships so we can teach teens so they can take this script to their friends and to their school. My dream is to have an advocate for living in every school in the US. Just one person in every school who is trained to give these talks. So then that way, when someone says, I'm having a really crappy day, it doesn't matter if they say they're suicidal or not. If they're having a crappy day, walk them through this conversation and it'll flip them in. Oh, I haven't seen a unicorn yet today. Oh, I need to try unicorn ice cream. Oh, I need to go do this. They'll come up with reasons to be positive because they'll see of all the great things they have in their life right now and all the things that they have to look forward to. It empowers them with hope.
Yeah.
And hope is the most important thing we can give to everyone on this planet. You could be the happiest person in the entire world and not have a single suicidal thought in your head. But I'm willing to bet you at one point in time, you did not want to get out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
This helps break that negative funk. And it's just a funk. We were born negatively biased. It's how we survived as cave people. We saw a shaking bush and automatically assumed that meant danger. So we ran and hide. That is a negative thought, to assume that there's danger constantly around you. So we're retraining the lizard part of our brain.
Yeah, the amygdala.
Yeah. The amygdala. Send that bitch back to school.
That was actually...
I can't believe I just said that.
That's hilarious. I mean, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I have so many thoughts in regards to that because it's beautiful. And do you notice how my answer was just like I know it.
Yeah.
That's because I used to ask myself those questions when I was younger. And then all the way up until I was 19, I really asked myself, like, what is, what's worth living for?
And even if you don't have somebody to practice the script with, that's why we're also giving the Why Not Workbook. The Why Not Workbook is pretty much the same process, but it can be done with yourself and a piece of paper and a pen.
Mhm.
You know, you don't have to have a conversation with someone. We also have this beautiful song that was written for the Teen Suicide Prevention Society. It's called Before You Decide. And you can hear it on YouTube under Logan Klaus. He's the teenager that sang it for us. And it's pretty much the same thing. It's a way to start a conversation with someone.
Yeah, the dialogue for this.
To start the dialogue, because that's the most important thing. And part of me is horrified that your niece said that everyone said there was something wrong with them.
Right.
Screw that. There is nothing wrong with anyone. And pardon me for saying so, but I think that in some cases you go to see a psychiatrist, you walk in with one problem, you walk out with 10.
Yeah, there was a reason why talk therapy and I didn't get along.
Yeah, exactly. There was a reason that talk therapy and me did not get along. Why? Because apparently I was able to act at a very young age and was able to bullshit my psychiatrist. I had them fooled, thinking that there was absolutely nothing wrong with me.
You see, I had the opposite. Because I was really honest as a child, especially when it came to suicide. That's actually how people found out, how my mother found out.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you this experience. We, it was the fun times of ADHD. This was the trend. Let's see if everyone has ADD. Let's see. Let's find out.
Yeah,
especially if you're
this predates Katie's time. We didn't talk about ADHD because it didn't exist.
Yeah, this was the 90s. This was I was 8 years in 1999, right? We go into the doctor's.
Oh my God, I was graduating high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thankfully, my older sister, she's 15 years older than me, and she went to go get herself checked for ADHD, and she had it. So mother took me. We go. That survey is still the same survey to this day to find out if you have ADHD. So if anyone goes to take the survey, there is a question that asks you, do you have suicidal thoughts? Mm-hmm. It actually asks you. And I'm 8 years old and I don't know what suicidal means, even though that's exactly what's happening. Right.
Right.
And the doctor asked, do you ever have thoughts of killing yourself? All right, hold on. Let me pull this back. So I asked my mom, I'm like, what does suicidal mean? As we're filling out the survey together before we go to the doctor's office. And she's like, what is that? And starts laughing. Like, do you want to kill yourself? Like, she just starts laughing. And I'm like, yeah, we can. She's like, no, right? She was like, yeah, you can write no. We go into the doctor's office. Doctor asks me about this question. I'm not a good liar. I'm an awful liar. So he's like, what? And then I hesitate. Right. And I'm like, what does suicidal mean again? Like the nervous child I am that can't lie. And he goes, do you have suicidal thoughts? Do you think about killing yourself? And I was like, I didn't want to answer. And he goes, I need you to tell us the truth, because if you tell us the truth, you're going to be happy and your mom will also be happy. So I say yes. My mom bawls crying and I feel awful. I'm like, can we stop now?
Yeah, please.
Cry. Yeah. And that experience to this day was like the one thing that never like really let me heal that side of me, because I was so scared to make my mother cry.
Well, it's from what I have learned. Now, I am not an expert in neuroscience, just disclaimer right there. This is just what Katie has learned, is that we as children have an undying need to please our parents.
Exactly.
Because they provide shelter, they provide food, they provide care for us. And without them, again, going back to caveman days, without parents, we would die.
Right.
So we want to do, and oh my God, I did so much stuff to try and please my mom and to please my stepdad and to please my biological dad and my stepmom growing up. Oh my God, I'm not even going to go into all those stories. But it never made me happy. And one of the things that I am finding is that you have to be happy with yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an internal job. Everything
Yes.
else is external.
Yes.
And
I learned that early.
The beauty of what that doctor had said to you is that it's the honest truth. You will be happier if you speak your truth. You know, yes, it will be a shock to your parents' system. And yes, they will cry and they may not understand, but overall, they now know what to do to help you move forward. And that's, again, I think the beauty of this script is, I didn't go into all the details. There's all kinds of information with, disclaimers as to what happens if someone says that they have no reasons for staying. Well, then you get on the phone with 911, with 988, with the suicide prevention hotline, with one of these intervention specialists. And yeah, your friend might hate you in the morning, but guess what? They're still here and they're getting the help they need.
Exactly. And that is the important thing.
And that is the important thing.
Yeah. It was interesting. So I think I mentioned like I chant, but when I started chanting, I started noticing there was something about that really like burrowed into my heart about how I wanted to help people feel happier. I wanted to eliminate that stigma. And I did everything I could to find people who were feeling this way, even though they couldn't say it. Right. And this was through my Instagram targeting. So when I used to play with the algorithm, it was, if you look at the hashtags, like very carefully look at the hashtags, you'll notice those are specific communities. This was from like maybe 4 years ago.
Right.
You'll see that there are almost 6 actually. You'll see there are specific hashtags that are for communities that have dealt with really strong adversities in their life that, could tell them there's no point to living, but to be honest, there is. And that was what those Instagram posts were about. That's what those comments were about. That's what the mesmerizing photos were about. They were to open a door or a lens to new possibilities for your life, to different ways of exploring a bigger and better life, getting you out of that shell of your of your home or the small circumstances that are right in front of you, right?
And you're not alone.
Exactly.
And that you're not the first person to go through this.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, no one's going to go through it exactly the same way that you are going through it, because we all are individuals and nothing is 100% identical.
And our lives are different.
But still, there are people who have been down that path before and are willing to say, let me give you a hand. Let me lend you an ear.
Yes.
Let me give you a shoulder to cry on.
Yes. And these are the unifying things. So remember how you mentioned, like, what else do you want to live for? And I was like, the support, like those answers that I gave you today, I've actually given those answers before to myself. And that's why it came out so quickly, to be very honest. Before this day, we actually haven't demonstrated the talk that saves lives directly.
Right. This is the first time that we're sharing it on our show. I have shared it in past interviews that I have been on. My mom, Jackie, has done it on who knows how many podcast interviews, and she's actually got a TEDx talk.
Yes.
On how to have this conversation, and she snuck it in to the TEDx talk. So, and that TEDx talk has had over 90,000 views, which means that's 90,000 people who now have a little bit more of a buffer between them and a ledge that they might not even know that they're standing there.
Exactly. And so the purpose of that conversation, it's so important. To me, I tried to embed it in everything I used to do. There was a good year where like I kind of got lost in the influencer world, but it when I come back to who I truly am, being able to live that purpose of helping people understand that there is something to continue living for. Like there isn't a despair option. You can be hopeful. You can grow. You can. I remember when I was in elementary school, I didn't think I was going to make it to high school.
Mm.
To be very honest, I thought that there was no hope by the time I got there, and
Yeah.
there
I
was.
didn't want to go to high school.
I didn't know what was going on. There was so much going on with me. That's happening to kids now. We can go into the depths of all of that, but you'll hear it amongst this podcast, to be honest. Like you'll find out more that way. But I really wanted to express this today and have this episode because hearing that so close to my niece, my sister's daughter, my hometown area, it's not exactly hometown, but that area, and knowing that as I got older, it didn't disappear. I also saw my friends in higher executive positions feel this way, and you would have never known.
Right.
Nobody knew when Anthony Bourdain was going to pass. Nobody knew when, Robert. Wow, I said Robert. Robin Williams. Nobody knew that Robin Williams, was under so much sadness. Like nobody understood these things. And there are very subtle key wordings that you can hear from somebody if you're really listening.
And that's one of the things that floored me and floored my mom when my sister Stephanie had her first attempt at the age of 13.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the one that broke the silence for our family. She gave a 7-minute talk where she talked about her initial attempt and the multiple attempts that followed. She is still with us, but she still deals with suicidal thoughts on a regular basis. But she has the tools to break out of those negative echo chambers and to find her reasons for living. And those are the tools that we have been creating and cultivating and using with the Teen Suicide Prevention Society. But this scary statistic that we found out was if you go to the CDC and look up suicide, one of the first indicators that someone is at risk is that they've known somebody who has tried or died.
Yes, because it gives permission.
It gives tacit permission. And thanks to the news, thanks to social media, we all know a talented comedian, a gifted singer, a famous chef. We all know or have heard of somebody who has either tried or has died, which means all of us are at risk.
Yes.
And the only thing that we can do is take a deep breath, realize we are not alone, negative thoughts are perfectly normal, and remind ourselves for our reasons for staying.
Exactly. And thank you so much for sharing this information with us today, Katie, because I really, I truly wanted people to understand what the Teen Suicide Prevention Society is about. And also understand that this mission is so dear to us that I'm really willing to go broke to get this moving. And I've been feeling that way recently. Because the thing is, imagine one talk that I've had, 15,000 people I know through that echo chamber of 15,000, that created a movement to save lives. There have been countless people who have listened to Jackie's podcast and Jackie's TED Talk on multiple platforms. And there's a level of security in their lives to keep moving forward because of what she talked about and because what we're talking about today. So thank you for sharing. And, this is the first time I've ever cried on this podcast.
Well, it's not the first time I've cried on this podcast, and it probably will not be the last.
Yeah.
But I do know one thing. Every time I practice this script, it helps build up my own buffer between me and a ledge that I know is there.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't mind doing the work to help reinforce my reasons for staying, because I'm always adding new evidence.
Thank you.
And this podcast is one of them, because where else am I going to get a chance to practice what I preach and wear a unicorn horn at the same time?
And be our authentic selves. I think
And
that's
be unapologetically ourselves.
Yeah. I actually shared with somebody the other day how so the first funeral I went to was a suicidal was due to suicide. And then every year since, I knew one to three people who passed from suicide. This started when I was 6. So it was like in my face my entire life. And I want to say that death is an interesting concept that can be incredibly enlightening, right? It tells you exactly, when faced with it and you're really reflecting, you know what matters and what doesn't matter. And living a lie doesn't matter to me. Living authentically makes life empowering and worth living.
I don't think you hear so many things about, you know, for example, he with the biggest toys wins. You know, you can't take it with you.
No, you can't. I learned that one early.
You really can't. You really can't take it with you. But here's the beauty of it is, and I just lost my train of thought of it, and that's perfectly okay too.
I am so sorry. Did I do
That's
that?
okay. No, I did it to myself because I started talking about he with the most toys wins, which isn't true.
Yeah, when people talk about the rat race, I'm like, what race are you talking about? There's only you at the end of it all. Even those negative thoughts, they go away right before it happens.
And I actually remember what it was that I was going to say with these negative thoughts. A mentor that I was listening to was talking about when he gets something that he starts to worry about. He writes it down on a piece of paper, he has it written down so he'll remember it later. He puts it out of his mind so then that way he can go back to focusing on the task at hand.
Mm-hmm.
Well, think about it. If you get a negative thought, acknowledge it, put it off to the side, go back to what it is that you're doing. Then it doesn't take up space in your head. Then it doesn't become stuck in the negative echo chamber. And then you could be like, oh, why in the world did I think that? Crumple that up, throw it away. You know, because they're just random thoughts. And we all get random thoughts in our heads. I mean, why else do people start off on one conversation then end up talking about something else? Just like me and losing my train of thought because some other thought intruded into my brain.
It's okay.
It's okay. Because we can't do this wrong.
Thank you.
You can't do the human experience wrong. We're all learning.
Exactly. But you can learn from your mistakes. Share that with you.
Yes.
That's the value of mistakes.
And if you repeat the mistake over and over, it just means you're a little bit more stubborn than someone else.
Yeah. I can be very stubborn. But sometimes stubborn is a good thing. For example,
Yes.
I'm stubbornly making sure that we keep doing this podcast as much as we possibly can, because I've been told, I think maybe 12 times today to not it in a subtle way to give up on everything that we've been building right before I got here. Yeah, that's why I was just like, but there's no way that's happening.
If it makes you happy, if it fulfills your purpose, if it feeds your soul, do it.
Exactly.
Now, if it's empty and hollow feeling, but you're doing it anyways because you think it fills you up, then you just need to have a little bit of emotional trash taken care of. So then you can find what your true purpose is.
Yeah. I think it's funny if you actually go through my Instagram and you look at my face, notice how much it's changed over the years because I chose to do something like this, took the risk to do something like this, to build something like this. I haven't stopped smiling. I might have cried a few times, and you see my face has been so expressive across the different platforms of what we do.
We can smile with tears running down our face. That is perfectly okay.
Exactly. But we're meant to feel our emotions, not numb them. And that also brings in such a beautiful part of life.
And there's one thing with numbing our emotions. We numb our negative emotions, but in doing so, we also numb all the positive ones. It's a double-edged sword, and a lot of people don't realize that.
Yes. So with that being said, let's close again with that question, the beautiful question that you shared, the open-ended one part of the script, so that it stays in everyone's subconscious as well.
What are your reasons for staying? Why stay? What is so great in your life right now that you want more of it?
Thank you. And let that just grow in your minds, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening to us. Yes, it is a serious topic, but it's such a topic that we really care about and brings us life as well.
And you can have fun with it.
Absolutely. Also, if you feel the need to support what we are doing, no, I'm not here to push anyone or force anyone to do anything. But if you like what we're doing, please feel free to donate at the link that is provided below. And we'll have some more opportunities for you to donate as well. But this begins here, now, and gets us rolling and moving and saving even more lives in Kenya and the United States. Right now, I'm the one doing my best to get us those politicians here, being able to be that liaison to help save everyone's kids from this pit of despair that has festered and hopefully will decrease. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a fabulous day.
Thank you for joining us. We hope that the discussion today will inspire you to take positive action in your life. Until next week, be empowered.